We all know where the fight for marriage equality ended before the U.S. Supreme Court in 2015. But very few of us know where it started. Right here in Honolulu, Hawaii, at the State Department of Public Health, where on December 17th, 1990, 3 same-sex couples came in and requested marriage licenses from the state.
I'm Sasha Issenberg. I'm a journalist and author. My newest book is The Engagement, America's quarter-century struggle over same-sex marriage. My interest was first drawn to this topic over a decade ago, when I heard people start to refer to the quest for marriage equality as the defining civil rights movement of my generation. But I realized I had no idea where it had come from or how the movement had started. My research led me to Hawaii. The entire story starts with a guy named Bill Woods and his desire to put on a parade. Woods was the leading gay activist in Hawaii in the 1970s and 1980s. Like many first-generation activists, he was impressively entrepreneurial. He had a hand in building nearly everything that the LGBT community in this state had over those years. But he wasn't always great at partnering with others or working in coalition. Woods loved pride parades, and he was disappointed that Honolulu had hosted only one in 1974, and then gave up trying to do another. Woods started going to San Francisco every summer so he could participate in the pride parade there. You know that picture of Harvey Milk riding in a convertible? Ever wonder why the iconic image of a San Francisco politician has him wearing a flower lei? Well, it's because Bill Woods brought one from Hawaii and gave it to Milk to wear. In 1989, Woods decided that he wanted to try to bring a pride parade back to Honolulu. But he found resistance at the Pride Association that organized the annual picnic and a vigil that ran alongside it. Some members thought a parade was just too complicated, and others were never inclined to let Woods have his way. The planning committee's chair had just launched a new gay and lesbian magazine, and Woods, who published the more established gay community news, saw her as a rival. So the committee did what event planning committees do everywhere when they don't want to make a tough decision. They let Woods create a subcommittee so he could go off and explore the possibility of putting on a parade. He began calling around to mainland pride organizations to understand what it would take, and submitted his report to the committee. The Pride Association still didn't want to go ahead with a parade. So Woods launched his own Pride Parade and Rally Council and mapped a short route through Waikiki. He invited the Royal Hawaiian Band to perform, asked the governor and mayor to be his grand marshal, and had a friend who was a chef and caterer organize an international food festival. All these moves had one goal in mind. Woods wanted to upstage the Pride Association's picnic when the 2 separate events took place back-to-back the same week in June 1990.
Woods' parade ended here, and he initially hoped that along with the speeches at the rally that would take place at this bandstand afterwards, there'd be a wedding, a Mooney-style mass wedding with dozens of couples who'd already exchanged vows as part of holy union ceremonies at a local gay-friendly church. The parade and the rally went ahead, but the wedding ceremony never did. But Woods had not given up on his dream of having gays and lesbians legally marry here. And so, 6 months later, he went to the public health department, brought 3 of those couples in to request marriage licenses from the state of Hawaii. Woods had the couples meet him here on Monday morning and laid out his plan. Together they would walk down to the public health department. There'd be media waiting for them, local TV stations, reporters from the Honolulu papers, who would watch them go in and request marriage licenses. He didn't know what would happen. They might get rejected, they might be granted the licenses. But either way, they would walk back here to the offices of the ACLU, the Hawaii affiliate of the American Civil Liberties Union, which had committed itself to fighting for the rights of gays and lesbians, and which Woods hoped he could force to take their case. The ACLU turned the couples away. The organization thought fighting for marriage in 1990 was a lost cause. And so they ended up a few weeks later in the offices of a local civil rights attorney, Dan Foley, who offered to take their case and sue the state of Hawaii for discrimination. In May of 1993, the Hawaii Supreme Court ruled. It was gender discrimination for the state to decide that a man and a woman could get a marriage license, but 2 men or 2 women could not. It was a shock. It was the first time that any court anywhere on earth had ruled that the fundamental right to marriage could extend to same-sex couples. After the plaintiff's victory at the Hawaii Supreme Court, their opponents gave up winning this at trial. Instead, they decided to take the fight from the legal realm to the political realm and launch an all-out crusade here at the state capitol to ban marriage between same-sex couples in the Hawaii Constitution. What happened here in Hawaii became a template in other state capitals around the country. Gay rights opponents stepped in and helped write bans into 36 state constitutions through legislatures or going straight to the voters that made it impossible for same-sex couples to win their marriage rights in court. It took the Supreme Court striking down those bans as unconstitutional in 2015 to guarantee the right to marriage equality nationwide.
The night before the court heard arguments in that case, I was there with Nania Baer and Janora Dancel, one of the 3 Hawaii couples who started this whole process in motion 25 years earlier by suing their state for the right to marry. None of this would have happened without them. I tell that whole story, from a petty pride planning fight in Waikiki to the U.S. Supreme Court, in my book, The Engagement, America's Quarter-Century Struggle Over Same-Sex Marriage. You'll learn the real story behind moments you lived through and probably think you know all about already, and we'll discover a whole history that explains this massive change we all experienced. I hope you read it.